Ta-da! And back at y'all with another video. Yes, sir, I am back at y'all with another video. So, with that being said, let's talk about some things. We got some things that we need to talk about. We should be talking about them. They need to be talked about because it is going down. And welcome to another edition of Stop the Capping. I'm your host, Amar. And we got some things that we should be talking about. We really should. And Trump is really doing some house cleaning. I'm not sure if it's good for the country. I'm not sure if it's good for the various departments in the defense to be cut down the way they are being cut down and shut down. But sometimes you got to do the hard things, and someone has to do it. And since y'all elected him to be the president, since y'all put him in office, well, y'all deemed that his trust, his word, would be the law. And so far, that's what he's doing. Now, he's trying to clean up some things, and a lot of people don't like the things that he is trying to clean up, but sometimes someone has to make the hard decisions. I think they're moving a little bit too fast. Okay? I think they're moving too fast. I do think they need to get some of the, what I call them, overachievers. If you've been in civil service more than 25 to 30 years, and even though you're still healthy, even though you're still able to work, allow someone else to have an opportunity to do those jobs. Allow someone else to have the opportunity to have a 20, 25 to 30 year career. Don't try to, what I call it, gobble up all the weight, gobble up all the riches of the world. Let someone else have an opportunity to take part and take hold of some of the things that you're trying to do. Let someone else get a shot at the title. Let someone else get a shot at what's going on. And don't be such a I like to call it, don't be such a money grabber. Let someone else get some of that wealth, some of that's prestige, some of the things that need to be going on. Let someone else get a shot at the title. So if you've been serving in the civil service for more than 25 to 30 years, yeah, think of retiring. Think of doing something else in your life. Let someone else, between that 21 to 30 year, get an opportunity to step in those positions and fill those roles. I was once a victim of the same thing that is going on right now. I got a job with the pharmacy department at the VA. I think this was like, I want to say 94 when I came back from Japan. I got an opportunity to work for the VA hospital. So with that being said, I was just in 2 months. Just got the position, was only in for 2 months. And I got this letter like everybody else. And I think Clinton was the president at the time, if I'm not mistaken. Clinton had just got in. And it may have been a little later, but I know Clinton was the president when this happened. And he was trying to reduce spending in the government. He was trying to reduce the cost of the government spending. And my main focus was this. If certain planes didn't need to be built or made at that particular time, then don't make them. If we stay out of conflicts, we wouldn't always have to be trying to build machines of war. One plane can cost between $2 to $4 billion. $2 to $4 billion could put a lot of fundings and a lot of programs that are needed within this country. And that's point blank and period. You can feed and clothe a lot of people with $4 billion. You can educate a lot of students with $4 billion. And that is a fact. That is a fact. You can definitely clean up a lot of businesses with $4 billion. That is a fact. You can do a lot of house cleaning with $4 billion. And I'm just gonna keep it real. You can do a lot of cleaning. You can do a lot of cleaning with $4 billion. You can fund a lot of programs with $4 billion. So I think some of the moves that Trump and Elon Musk are making are critical. They're important. They need to be done. Like I said, when I was injured, I had 3 days of physical therapy at the VA. A lot of people sitting around. A lot of people in the VA that's supposed to be working, sitting around, he and ha, living a Miller High Life and not doing a darn thing. They're in there living the Miller High Life and not doing a darn thing. Not doing a darn thing at all. And they're just soaking up the wealth of the world, but not doing nothing. You got groups over here sitting around talking, groups over here. Every time I go in there, I always see people sitting around, standing around, talking, and they're supposed to be working. But they sitting around getting a nice paycheck, working Monday through Fridays, getting good hours. They're done by 5 o'clock. Pretty much the VA is shut down. Certain departments shut down at 2:30. Some departments in the VA shut down at 2:30. Some departments only open 3 days a week. So, with that being said, I think a lot of things was being wasteful within that department. A lot of things was being wasteful. And some things need to come to an end. Some things need to be shut down. And I think, though they don't like it, though some people are trying to sue the government for being, but if money's being wasted, it's time for something to stop. You just keep pouring money into something that's not working. You can't just keep pouring money into something that's not benefiting just to give somebody a job. I understand people need employment. That is crucial. But we need to put those people in employment that is needed, not just to be handing out money, hand over feast. In other words, the money that these people are getting comes from your taxes. So you need funding here, you need funding here, you need funding here, you need funding here. And like Trump said, we're giving all these billions and billions of dollars to other people all over the world with nothing in return. That needs to stop, and I'm with that. Ukraine has been at war with Russia for over 3 years. Look at all the aid and military support they have been getting for the last 3 years. And what are we getting back in return? What are we getting back in return? We got 40,000 troops sitting over in Israel. What are we getting back in return? So we doing all this and that to help others, but what are we getting in return for all this aid and support that we giving to other people? What are we getting in return? Okay, what researches are they lending to us that we can utilize? Are they making maybe visiting their country easy? Are they opening up their borders for transport for like a sister city or sister country where we can exchange, people from our country can go to their country and the people from their country come to our country? Or what are they doing to help us like we're helping them? What is the growth from us benefiting and helping those nations? We're not the only nation in the world, but we support a lot of people. What are the other nations doing to support those causes? So I think the federal government just was doing too much spending, buying necessary stuff that we don't need. We make peace, we don't need to be making new planes. We make peace, we don't need to be making new ships. If we stay out of people's business, we don't have to worry about having to build this, having to make this, having to do this. If we stay out of people's business, We stay out of other people's conflicts, we would not have to be worrying about trying to be world power. If we take care of home first and then worry about the rest of the world, we'll save a lot of money. We will save a lot of money in this country if we take care of this country. Provide aid and assistance to those who ask for it when it's a benefit to helping them. Not just throwing away good money to them, and then once they get back on their feet, they poking out their chest. Oh, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing it. But you wasn't yelling that when you was taking that money. You wasn't yelling that when you was using our weapons. Your chest wasn't so poked out when you needed that support, whether it be military or financial or both. Your chest wasn't poked out then. Now all of a sudden you get back on your feet or you think you're winning. Now you want to poke your chest out. So some of the federal cuts are necessary. They overdue. Joe Biden should have been trying to cut out some of the spending in the military. He should have been doing that when he was in office, trying to reduce some of that spending, that needless spending that's not really benefiting the country. Okay? Some of these senators need to go. You've been in office too long. 30, 40 years. You've been some of them been in the Senate for almost 40 years. Retire. Let someone else get an opportunity to run the country. Let someone else get an opportunity and a shot to make decisions and policies for the country. That's why we got this black and white stuff going on for the last 40 years. Because look who we have as senators. That's why we still arguing over issues and concerns that should have been dealt with 40 years ago. We still arguing over things that should have been into law, should have been dealt with, over with 40 years ago. But here we are, 2025, and we still bickering and arguing over the same shenanigans and foolishness that should have been done back in 1960. And we still have those issues and problems today, and we're still fighting and arguing over them. Make it make sense. That's what I say. Make it make sense. If you can make it make sense, we don't need to be doing all the shenanigans. If you can make it make sense, we do not need to do all these shenanigans. But we can't make it make sense because we're constantly fighting over things that we should have been dealt with and should have been dealt with and brought to an order 40 years ago. And we still fighting these same issues 40 years later. Make it make sense. It's not making sense. So people jumping up left, right, and center. This ain't the first time we've had cuts in the federal government. This is not. We've had them in Bush, Reagan, and Clinton. Cutting back spending and costs is not been something that just popped up. It has not. Now, some parties that didn't make it into office, they want to make it a political thing out of it, saying Donald Trump or Elon Musk don't know what they're doing. But no, some of these cuts need to be done. You don't need to have all these IRS agents running around taking people's money left, right, and center. Taxes are out of hand. Just snatching left, right, and center, everything, especially here in the city of Chicago. City of Chicago ain't giving you nothing. This is one of the greediest cities ever. This is like being in New York, greedy. Want to tax everything. Everything. Next thing you know, they're going to be taxing the air you breathe. So there's a lot of foolishness going on within the government, both locally and federally. A lot of foolishness going on. And some of it needs to be cleaned up. Because I can't see it going another 40 years doing the same path that we're on right now. and no one wants to bring in new and fresh ideas. No one wants to bring in new and fresh ideas. So if you bring in new and fresh ideas, you'll always stay abreast and ahead of things. But if you just want to keep on going through the same nonsense and not willing to make a change, you're always going to have problems. If you don't want to make change, you won't have growth. You must be willing to make changes to make growth. And sometimes people in this country don't like changes. They don't like changes. I don't know why. We wouldn't be where we are as a society if we didn't want change. So sometimes change is good. If some things are broken, let's get into it and let's get it fixed. Lick fast and hurry. Don't let's wait 20, 30 years. We know it's wrong, but we keep on letting it go on. Because we are too afraid to make changes. People are afraid to make changes, and we need to stop being afraid to make changes. Sometimes changes is good. Sometimes changes is important. Sometimes changes are needed. So therefore, let's get it done. Let's get these changes done because they're needed. And it's obvious that they're needed. So, with that being said, don't be afraid of the changes that are coming within the federal government. They're needed. Let's just stand by and see what happens. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode of tonight's evening. It's about the federal cuts being done by Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm your host, Amar, and this has been another edition of Stop the Cap. So with that being said, y'all maintain your flow and keep your head above the water. Peace. I'm out of here. Until the next episode. Good night.